So, I caught a nostalgia bug recently and wanted to replay some games from when I was young. Not my bitch-ass teenage years either, we're going really young. I'm talking about the humongous junior adventure games. Freddy Fish, Spy Fox, Pajama Sam, and of course, Putt Putt, the subject of this video. Should I say bitch ass in this one? Putt Putt was Humongous's first, longest running, and I reckon, most iconic franchise. The games follow the adventures of a sentient car, ranging from a simple parade to tripping over the wrong wire and getting stuck on the moon. In fact, those were the first two Putt Putt games, so this expression of both mundane and extraordinary stories was there pretty much from as early as it could have been. But it is the next two Putt Putt games which most, myself included, would consider the peak of the series. Putt Putt Saves the Zoo, which is apparently comparable to Witcher 3, and Putt Putt Travels Through Time. These two games are delightful, full of character and absolute fab puzzles that have you collecting components from all over their worlds. They also stand out from the two games before them because they moved away from pixel art, favoring a more traditional 2D animation instead, and they stand out from the three games after them because they still have Putt Putt's original voice actor. Of these favorites, it's usually Putt Putt Travels Through Time that is considered the better, leaving Putt Putt Saves the Zoo with the silver medal. I get why. I mean, time travel is just exciting as a concept for one thing, but perhaps more important is a small difference in design. Randomized puzzles. Basically, in the first three Putt Putt games, including Putt Putt Saves the Zoo, the puzzles you need to complete to finish the game are the same on every playthrough. Pep is always in this cave, the steering wheel is always up on this cliff, and Sammy the Seal is always trapped in this dam. But when Humongous made the first Freddy Fish game, aside from introducing the new art style, they also tried a thing where different playthroughs would randomly pick what puzzles you had to do from a set list to finish it. Like on one play, you might have to go here, here, and here, while on the next it may be here, here, and here, and each location has their own little challenges to offer. It's a great idea. It gives the game good replay value and more to talk about with your friends afterwards. It also worked out well for me because both me and my sister would play these as kids and watch each other playing them. Thanks to this design, whoever played it second wouldn't have all the puzzles spoiled for them, though to be fair, we tended to solve them together anyway. Putt Putt Saves the Zoo came out after the first Freddy Fish, but while it did grab the visual change, it didn't take on the randomized puzzles. Putt Putt Travels Through Time, on the other hand, finally brought the idea into the car's world. So adding everything up, Putt Putt Saves the Zoo is great, but Putt Putt Travels Through Time has a flashier premise and more replayability. Furthermore, I'd also say it has slightly better puzzle design. It's easy to see why it is considered the stronger game overall. Yet, in replaying the games, I found that I liked Putt Putt Saves the Zoo more, quite a bit more even. Why would that be? Can't ever fully dismiss nostalgia, but I played both as a kid, so I think that should even out between the two games. What else could it be? Well, I have a few ideas, and I want to cover them in this video, and let me know in the comments if you agree, I suppose. I've got three things I want to cover, because rule of three for the win, obviously. First, emotion. The premise of Putt Putt Saves the Zoo is that the baby animals have all gone missing and Putt Putt needs to find them before the zoo can open. What's special about this is that you can find the parents of these babies as well, both before rescuing the kids and after. Understandably, they're really upset and worried at first, but are relieved after being reunited with their spawn. On the other side of things, the children are terrified and alone, or at least uncomfortable while they're lost, then gleeful once they return to their roost. It's not earth-shattering writing or anything, but each of these characters have a journey in the story. They go from a place of, oh no, I don't like this, to, ah yes, I good now. A key feature that emphasizes this emotional development is how you'll often have to leave the characters in an unhappy state while you're still figuring out how to solve the dilemmas of the game. You can't always end their sadness quickly. This allows those negative feelings to stew in your mind for quite some time, which makes it all the more fulfilling when you finally flip them to positive feelings later. It also has the effect that these characters come across as more layered. Not a huge amount, they're still essentially built on very simple ideas, but even so, we see how all the kids and parents behave both when things are going well and not so well. We literally see them being multifaceted. It's just enough that they feel like characters rather than caricatures. Now compare this to Putt Putt Travels Through Time. The scientist Mr. Firebird has built a time portal and a bunch of Putt Putt stuff has been sucked into it and distributed throughout the ages, so they need to go in there and get it all back. In their time travels, Putt Putt meets many fun and distinctive animals and vehicles, but they're almost all just so overwhelmingly positive, even when they have problems to solve right in front of them, sometimes quite serious ones. There are some exceptions. This medieval wagon that's lost his wheel, this train that needs oiling, and this dinosaur that has one hell of an itch. These characters behave like they're actually in a bit of distress, but all of these problems can be solved pretty much as soon as you meet them without much issue, putting a swift end to any lingering worry or sadness to player could be feeling. You could argue that this is because losing a loved one is inherently more severe than losing some cool items, but one of those items is Putt Putt's dog Pep, which is at least walking a similar path to the animals that lost their kids. However, there's just no time spent to sit with how bad a thing this could be. Even while his dog is missing, Putt Putt seems endlessly happy about everything. Now, I get that Putt Putt being the main character makes it harder to account for this, and yeah, even if they could, it's probably too much of a downer to be stuck with the sad character for the whole game instead of to just meet them in passing. But the fact remains, there just isn't anything highlighting the importance of this situation like there was in the previous game, and that absence is noticeable at least. Putt Putt Travels Through Time is a fun adventure, but one without any sort of bite to the problems you need to solve. Putt Putt Saves the Zoo's willingness to simply acknowledge that sometimes bad feelings aren't easy to get past makes it significantly more fulfilling as a story. Let's move on to the second feature I want to talk about, the camera. Humongous games are designed with a lot of charm and a lot of Easter eggs. They have these things called click points where you can click on a part of the screen and something fun just happens. It's a cute idea that provides some intrinsic reward for exploring the environment, as you should do in an adventure game, and it's a particularly good match for a game targeted at kids as it plays with their curious nature very effectively. The world also gets character across from the characters, and also little mini-games and unique activities hidden around the world. This is something that's a particular strength and Travels Through Time. There's heaps of them in that game, but each of these features are pretty much contained to their own little box. There's nothing that leaves a lasting sense of progress across the game, nothing that connects your exploration together as a whole. If we want an example of such a system, we can look to Pajama Sam. Each of them have some sort of collectible scattered across the world for you to pick up, like the socks in the first game. Putt Putt has no such convention in their series, and indeed, in Putt Putt Travels Through Time, you won't find any equivalent. But in Putt Putt Saves the Zoo, you will. In fact, I like what it does better than Pajama Sam. Early in the game, Putt Putt can pick up a camera and start snapping pictures of all the animals and vehicles across the zoo, including the lost children and their parents both before and after they've been rescued, including Pep too. They serve no purpose in the game's puzzles, they're purely there for your benefit. These photos are just fun, another little avenue to pull personality out of the various characters in how they pose and smile, but more importantly, it's sort of tracking your progress in a way, documenting the path you took and the effort you put in across the world. Looking through the photos actually works a bit like it would in real life, the kind of, oh yeah, I remember that was cool effect. It makes those individual moments stand out a little more while also better uniting them into a whole. My third and final idea I want to go into is all about purpose, specifically in the design of the worlds. Both games have multiple biomes you can travel to, connected by a hub area near the beginning. In Putt Putt Saves the Zoo, they are the grassland, the Arctic land, and the jungle land, with two baby animals needing of rescue in each. In Putt Putt Travels Through Time, we get the Wild West, the Middle Ages, the Future, and the Mesozoic era, each of them containing one of the items that must be recovered. But these areas themselves are not designed in the same way across the two games. Saves the Zoo tends to string things together down long paths where you encounter characters and items you need as you go. Travels Through Time will instead have mini-hubs within the worlds that lead to several isolated rooms where all the actual interactions usually happen. I find the effect of this is that the experience of traversing the game comes across as subtly disjointed and janky, constantly having to bounce back and forth in search of everything. In Saves the Zoo, the flow is much more satisfying. You interact with what you want to on a certain screen, then move directly onto the next. It's as smooth as butter. Now, I'm not saying that any individual instance of this jank in Travels Through Time is really much of a problem, but I certainly feel it over the course of the whole game. This structure also interacts with the whole random puzzles thing in an unfortunate way. It means that a lot of the places you can go on a given playthrough will be effectively empty. There's nothing there that contributes to the solutions you're looking for. The worst case, I think, is the old rock mine on the railroad. Sometimes this area serves as a component to a puzzle, but when it doesn't, and it usually doesn't, it's just nothing. There's no games, there's no characters, there's no unique interactions. It's not even that interesting as a location. It just feels like a waste of time. More broadly though, you end up with a lot of the world being more of an extra in a given playthrough. Not a bad extra, but the game never quite feels like it's using everything it can to create the strongest experience for you. You're constantly seeing potential that is just not being used. But do you know what game does do this well? That's right! Sheepy! But also Putt Putt Saves the Zoo. To complete the game, you need to gather items and meet characters from pretty much every corner of the map. You need to really get to know it, to connect with it in a way to put all the pieces into place. This combined with the flow of the world covered earlier gives the whole thing a sense of purpose, a kind of tightness and intention in the design that truly shines through. It's almost like seeing how all the cogs and gears in a machine contribute to its function, and it's certainly just as satisfying. Now, you can have the varying puzzles of travel through time and the sense of intention in Saves the Zoo. These two things are not contradictory. I would argue that Freddy Fish 3 is an excellent example of this, but possible or not, Putt Putt never managed to achieve both in the same game. And with that, I think I've made my thoughts clear. Putt Putt Saves the Zoo will only give you one good playthrough, that's true, but my god, it gets everything it can out of it. The fact that you can replay Putt Putt Travels Through Time over and over again with different puzzles means that it could probably entertain you for longer, but the experience is never as well balanced, well thought out, or complete as that of its predecessor. So, yeah, if you liked the video, then, like it. See ya!